hanging out one night, going there to hear a band, and I see this girl. She looks a little different. She doesn't look like she's from around here.
Hi, my name is Dina. We're about to leave to go out. Me and Suzette, and LJ, and Michelle, and Titania. And we're gonna go do some tricks tonight. We're not treating anyone. This is how I look. Turn around.
The way she dressed and then carried herself.
Designed by Didi.
She stood out from the crowd.
Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. Oh my goodness, Rod Blanchard. I have some SHIT to say about him. And I thought it was really neat that a subscriber of mine who is really good at talking to random sources, like getting them to chat with her and give her some information, she reached out to Rod Blanchard a little while ago, and Rod finally responded, and she sent me a screenshot of what he had to say, and I just thought it was quite funny. Okay, so the subscriber says Katie Joy and her murderer dating friend is streaming your live on her TikTok. So I think this was when Katie Joy was hanging out with Zora, who was like Amelia's supposed girlfriend. I don't know if you guys know about that era, but it was epic, okay? And during this time, Katie was aligning herself with this young girl in her 20s who was allegedly dating Gypsy's former roommate, Amelia Bird. If you are not aware who Amelia Bird is, I'm going to do a video on her in the future, but basically she became friends with Gypsy. They had a similar criminal history, and Amelia really wants and expects Gypsy to kind of stand up for her and maybe get some movement in Amelia's case so that Amelia can get out of prison. She has been found guilty of participating in the murder of her mother and the attempted murder of her father. But Amelia blames a boyfriend and believes she should get out of jail, just like Gypsy has. So Zora kind of shows up out of nowhere and considers herself Amelia's quote-unquote girlfriend. Even though Zora is involved in multiple relationships, she considers herself polyamorous. She's involved in a lot of different relationships, and I mean, you can go check her out on TikTok and, come to your own conclusions about it. But for a while, she was hanging out heavily and sucking up to Katie Joy Paulson. They were like besties on TikTok. Katie Joy had Zora on every single night, and Zora was like defending Katie and all over her. And then within a couple of days, they had a major falling out. Zora never came back on the show again. And I believe Zora also broke up with Amelia Bird at the same time. So Katie was like, I don't need you anymore. You don't have any good information for me. And Zora disappeared. Zora went by the name Little Miss Lithium, if you recognize her that way. And I thought it was funny that recently I saw Little Miss Lithium on Ball's Instagram account. Balls is a critic of Katie Joy on Instagram, and she posts a lot of criticism about Katie, and Zora went over there. Little Miss Lithium was over there and had some shit to say about Katie. I thought that was interesting. Constant breakups when it comes to Katie Joy. So this subscriber said to Rod, Katie Joy and her murderer dating friend is streaming your live on her TikTok. Katie just told everyone on that live to contact Gypsy's parole board and demand federal charges. Okay, so a couple of weeks later, Rod responds. I just love Rod. I believe it. I believe it. You better believe it. All right, so that's all Rod had to say. He didn't say much else. Maybe in the future he will. Who knows? But I did think it was nice that he wrote back to this, little subscriber that just reached out to him. And it's kind of interesting to me because I often wonder how Rod is feeling and what he's thinking in regards to the fact that his wife, Christy Blanchard, created all these crazy, impossibly draining and hideous relationships with all of these YouTube and Facebook creators. Katie Joy is only one of them, but Fancy Maselli was another. There's also Natasha Cooper. There are countless. I mean, I can think of, there's at least 20 that I know by name. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Obviously, Katie Joy has a very large channel. But in Katie Joy's specific situation, Katie claims that she was extremely close to Christy Blanchard for 5 years. Katie claims that they were talking on the phone, texting constantly. She got to know everything about Christy's life and her family, knew a little bit about Rod, knew a little bit about Mia, and also the son Dylan. And yet still, overnight, Katie completely, allegedly turned on that family. I still question it. Sometimes I wonder if they're not working together and it's not all just to build the fame of Gypsy and the Blanchards and the show. But Katie has said a lot of negative shit about Gypsy and Christy. So it's most likely that there was a falling out. Katie has even gone as far as to accuse Christy of being like an alcoholic and doing drugs, that kind of stuff. She said a lot of negative things about Rod. She said like he's an absent father, he's an absent husband. And I mean, some of this could be true. It could be true. It's just kind of surprising and maybe a little disgusting to have created this relationship with this family and these people for 5 years, like getting really personally involved in the way a reporter never would, you know? And instead of like having some integrity about the way you choose to deal with your personal falling out with them, you're just like, I'm just gonna run out here and spread all their personal information all over the internet. Shame them, blame them, treat them like shit. Talk about Gypsy's medical records, talk about the autopsy report, even though before I criticized a bunch of other creators for doing the same thing. And I just think to myself, I believe there's some interesting conversations going on in the Blanchard house between Rod and Mia and Gypsy, all about Christy's predilection to falling into the hands and the relationships and the friendships with these kinds of people like Katie Joy. I know a lot of people are very frustrated with Gypsy Rose Blanchard for really good reasons. There's no denying all the problems we see with Gypsy. But why do you think someone like Katie Joy was friends with Christy and Gypsy to begin with? Because she's a lot like them, I would argue. That's my opinion. An awful lot like them, an awful lot like Christy, who in my opinion is kind of like a weird momager. Someone who's like, I will do whatever it takes to ensure that Gypsy Rose Blanchard becomes like a moneymaker for myself, my kids, and my family. That's what I've seen from Christy. She has been messing around with dozens of creators, pitting them against each other, playing them off of each other, giving them little tidbits of information about her stepdaughter, Gypsy Rose, like giving them personal, private information about Gypsy that she probably didn't want shared. And most of us who have been around and following this for a while know that there is a history of major falling outs between Gypsy and Christy. Gypsy got really angry at Christy once when she was in prison. She was angry at Christy about Fancy Maselli. Fancy Maselli was kind of like the old Katie Joy, right? Christy had become friends with her, made all these deals with her, signed contracts with her, gave her all of Gypsy's medical records, gave a bunch of Gypsy's private information to her, and Fancy was kind of like running around doing whatever she wanted with it, trying to tell Gypsy how to live her life, trying to tell Christy what to do, and Gypsy pushed back. She didn't like it, and she especially didn't like it when Ken Urker showed up in her life back then. This is kind of a review of everything that happened, but I'm trying to emphasize that Katie Joy has been a big part of the negativity revolving around the Blanchards. She was on board with them for a long time. Katie even claims that Christy told Katie that she was going to make Katie Gypsy's PR social media manager. Like, it's just so crazy to think about. And Katie was on board 110%. Katie wanted that money. She wanted that bag. She knew what was going on with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She knew well and good. Katie now tries to act like, oh, I just kind of woke up one day. I realized, like, no. Everything that had been told to me for the past 5 years that I had believed every second of every day was just wrong. No, Katie always knew a lot of that was wrong. A lot of that was BS. A lot of it was a spin to sell Gypsy's story. It's obvious to anyone who kind of takes a closer look at it. Katie knew. But what she saw, in my opinion, was money signs over the head of Christy, over the head of Gypsy, and she felt like, look, I gotta stay good with this family. For those of you who don't know, I spoke to someone who is very close to Christy, and they let me know the real reason, according to them, according to Christy, why Katie Joy had a falling out with the family. And this is what they said. They said that Katie Joy got added when she was like part of the positivity and saying all this really great shit about Gypsy back in the day a couple months ago. Katie Joy got added to a group chat that included Gypsy, Bree, Christy, and several other creators who would all kind of chat together about what was going on with Fancy Maselli and all these people who don't like Gypsy. Well, apparently Gypsy and several of the creators did not know that Katie had been added to the group. And so they started talking about Katie right in front of her, talking about the way she looked, the way she acted, the fact that she was emailing Bree, telling her, I made $2 million on my YouTube channel, so I know how things should be done. Because Katie was a little bit in competition with this girl, Bree, who's very good friends with Gypsy. She expected that she was going to be able to control the Blanchards and control Gypsy. And when that wasn't possible and it didn't happen and other people had more influence than she did, she could not stand it. That's not how Katie Joy operates. So once she saw that Gypsy and Bree specifically were making fun of her in that group chat, she was out of there. She immediately flip-flopped, started talking all kinds of crazy shit about Gypsy and the Blanchards. She went on to expose a lot of private messages that she had with the family. My understanding is that she only really ever spoke to Gypsy once, I think, extensively, and then they texted a few times, but she did have this 5-year relationship with Christy, so I'm sure she knows a lot of the skeletons. She's outed the fact that Christy sometimes has said she's not happy in her marriage to Katie, allegedly. This is all alleged by Katie Joy. That Christy's very lonely, that Rod's always gone, that Rod cheats all the time, that Christy uses pills and uses alcohol, and Rod's the same. Katie Joy has said frequently that it's sort of like Christy and Rod and everybody knew what was going on with Gypsy and didn't do anything about it. So there's so many allegations coming from Katie. It's enough to make your head just spin in circles. I keep coming back to the thought that you pretended to be friends with these people for 5 years. And I keep coming back to my main thought, which is, Christy Blanchard, what are you thinking? What is your goal, girl? Are you just all about the attention? Why are you selling out your stepdaughter, who has a lot of problems already? Why are you selling her out to all these like mid to low level social media stars? When there are greater interviews to be had, bigger people to talk to. It's quite interesting to me. It has been a crazy rabbit hole, and I'm still heading down it. I hope you guys will join me next time when we head down yet another Gypsy Rose Blanchard rabbit hole. And don't forget to check out Magu. It's linked below. I've been using it for the past month or so. I have a long history of depression. I use an antidepressant and I do therapy, but I've been using Magu in conjunction with all of that for the past month, and I've really found it to be very helpful when it comes to some additional anxiety I have here and there. I am so into this product. It's just a natural hemp-based product. You can buy it from their website. It is not an MLM or anything like that. You just go to the website and purchase it if you would like. There are different sizes that you can get, and I have the link below, and I also have a discount code. The discount code is SMILE, S-M-I-L-E. Thank you so much for being a part of my channel. I know a lot of you have purchased this product, but for me it's been kind of a miracle worker, so I'm very grateful to have it on board. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.